So let's start in day number 3 in our CISSP training. And just for the sake of alignment or for the sake of, let's say, getting back to the track, yesterday we have discussed or we started in discussing domain number 2. And in domain number 2, we understood what is the different stages in the data life cycle. And during our discussion, we spoke about what kind of labels that are used to classify the data and what is the purpose of data classification in general. We can say that data classification is required in order to ensure or in order to select what is the appropriate security control that we need to apply on this data. So we have covered most of data lifecycle stages and what is the security requirements that need to be embedded during these stages. And for now, we are going to speak about data destruction. So at the end of data lifecycle and while or when you no more need to maintain the data for, let's say, business requirements or regulatory requirements, you will need to do data destruction or data disposal. So data destruction or data disposal or asset destruction or asset disposal, you are basically can perform a disposal to any unwanted asset, including the data or information assets. During data destruction, you need to use a sanitization method that ensures that data cannot be recovered. You can rely on NIST's special publication 88080, which details the steps required for data destruction and what is the recommendations for each type of media. So data destruction techniques can include the destruction of actual media, include the removing of data without destruction the media by making sure that we are using secure erasing techniques or secure wiping techniques that can help in making sure no data remnants will be available on the disk or on the drive. So secure wiping or secure deletion of data aims to destruct any data remnants, and data remnants refer to the residual data that remain on the storage device even after the data has been deleted or erased. This residual data can be recovered or retrieved using special data recovery software or tools. That's why we need to apply or use secure or sanitization methods that will ensure no data remnants will remain on the hard drive or on the media. So the process of destruction or the process of sanitization can vary according to what is the type of media. For example, hard disk drives can be sanitized using a technique known as the degaussing. And degaussing is basically subjecting this media to a high magnetic field which result in deleting or in corrupting the data on the hard drive. In the case of solid state drives or SSD, the situation might be different. SSDs can be erased or can be wiped or can be sanitized by kind of software that is supplied by the SSD vendor itself. So based on the media itself, the destruction or the sanitization technique can differ. In case of physical information or physical papers, for example, we should use paper shredders. And paper shredders is not just a tool that shreds the paper or destructs the paper. It basically run on a complex algorithm as well that make the reorganization of the shredded paper is very time consuming and costly task. So the goal of data sanitization and data destruction is to remove data remnants. And in addition to degaussing, we have other types of data destruction, such as physical destruction by using specialized equipment and start in destructing this data. Taking a hammer and start destructing the flash drives or whatever, melting the device and make sure the device will not be more usable. Degaussing is one of the techniques, and it also known as magnetic erasing. We just basically erase the magnetic field on the storage or on the hard drive or tape. And a degausser tool use a strong magnetic field to scramble the data on the device, making this data, of course, unusable and unretrievable. And even if this data retrieved, we will simply retrieve data that is corrupted, because degassing may result in shifting the zero and ones, shifting the bit level on the hard drive. Overwriting is another technique for secure wiping, and overwriting is basically referred to replacing the existing data with some rubbish data and use this process for multiple times. So basically, we are overfilling the storage as well as underlaying layer in the storage with some rubbish data or unusable data. So even someone managed to retrieve the data, he or she will not be able to retrieve data that is meaningful. Another data destruction technique is the cryptographic erasure. And the cryptographic erasure is basically a technique that involves using encryption in order to encrypt the data and after then delete the keys and make this data irrecoverable. Another technique is software wiping, and software wiping is use a specialized software that can delete and wipe the data from the hard drive. And these software wiping tools should be approved or should be certified. So you can find in the market a lot of software and types of technologies that can provide secure wiping or erasing for data. And you will find the vendors who are releasing this kind of software to the market, claiming that this wiping software is complying with the Department of Defense and NIST special publication 880, for example, in order to market to their products. Secure erase is another kind of erasing or destruction method, but it is used for a specialized type of devices or drives, such as SSDs. In some cases, when you purchase an SSD or a solid state drive from one of the vendors, they might give you a software that can be used in order to use it later on in case you need to do secure eraser or something from that context. So the goal of data destruction is to make sure data is irrecoverable. And in data destruction, we have two possible ways. The first way is we need to destruct the data without destructing the drive itself. That will allow us in reusing the drive. When we use secure wiping, when we use secure eraser, this can help us in reusing the drive. And in other types, we need to totally destruct the media. Some customers might require from service provider or cloud hosting or whatever to make sure when they quit the business or when they move out from the cloud provider, the data or the drives where their data were stored is not only allowed to be secure wiped or secure deleted, but also drives itself need to be destructed in the presence of a representative from this company. So depend on what is your goal in data destruction. Do you need to keep the drive, or do you need to totally destroy data and drive? The recommendation here, or the cryptographic or the destruction method, will vary and will be influenced by such a decision. So this is an overview about what do we mean by data destruction and data disposal. And again, it is not only about data, but it is also about assets. So even assets should reach a certain stage in its life which require it to be destructed. When or maybe you need to revoke it or bring it to be out of life or out of service. In such a case, in assets, before bringing the asset to be end of life, or let's say remove it from your systems or from your production, you need to consider to remove any unclassified information. And you might use one of these techniques in order to make sure that the assets will not include any data remnants that can be recovered under any circumstances. So I hope the concept of data destruction is clear for you.